Logan Paul,
Logan, you get it.
Ken Golden,
Yes.
tonight you sold the PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator card for $16,492,000. On behalf of Guinness World Records, I can now confirm you have achieved a new record title for not only for the most expensive Pokémon card ever sold at auction, but also the overall record for the most expensive trading card ever sold at auction.
Oh my God, bro.
Congratulations! You are officially amazing.
Oh my God, no way. Yes, yes, yes.
Logan Paul's Pokemon saga just flipped into something crazy, and the details are messy in a way nobody expected. In this video, we're breaking down what looks like straight-up lies, the shady way he moved that Pikachu card, and the drama that exploded out of nowhere. This is not some tiny misunderstanding. This is big, loud, and impossible to ignore. If you think this is just another headline, think again. We've already gone deep on Logan Paul and Liquid Marketplace, especially that PSA 10 Illustrator Pikachu card he hyped up for a jaw-dropping $16.4 million. The headlines were wild, the energy was over the top, and the claims were huge. This wasn't just a regular sale. This was positioned like a historic moment in collecting history. Logan kept acting like that card had zero baggage attached to it. Like it was clean, simple, fully his. No loose ends, no awkward details. He moved like the whole deal was flawless. No issues, no doubts, nothing to question. That is not what actually happened. He did respond, and we're getting into that, because this situation turned into a full-blown circus real fast. You've seen the clips. Logan running around, high-fiving, smiling like everything's perfect. Meanwhile, serious questions were already bubbling under the surface. He even had Guinness World Records there to stamp the moment, making it look larger than life. It was presented like some legendary, untouchable milestone, a flawless victory lap. But once you understand what really happened behind the scenes with that card, the vibe shifts fast. It's honestly unsettling. Everything started unraveling midstream. The mood flipped, and what was supposed to be a celebration started looking like the biggest punchline of the night. And right in the middle of that chaos, Logan suddenly announces a brand new business he's co-founding called Rip It. Just like that. No pause, no tension, just business as usual. The timing felt way too convenient, almost like a slick distraction move. Watch the clip of him pitching it. The energy tells you everything.
Oh my God, we're still going!
Yes.
We have another bid. We now have 30 minutes left again. Go ahead, Mr.
$16,492,000.
That's crazy.
Another Logan Paul business popping up right when the heat is rising. Be honest, what does that remind you of? The vibe feels way too familiar. It screams Liquid Marketplace all over again. That same platform where Logan told fans they could buy fractional shares of his collectibles. He sold it as secure, locked in, protected. He made it sound like those items couldn't be moved or sold unless shareholders agreed. That was the pitch. Regular fans becoming part owners, real stake, real voice, real control. But here's where it hits hard. The exact Illustrator card he later auctioned off was the same card he had already listed on Liquid Marketplace and sold shares of to his own supporters. Let that sink in. People bought into the idea that they owned a piece of that card. Then the card gets taken back and moved anyway. If that happened, what did they really own? The ownership was presented as solid, stable, community-driven. But when the spotlight came, Logan walked away with the full $16.5 million headline. Meanwhile, the fans who bought shares, they were basically sidelined while he took center stage. Right after the auction wrapped, that's when Logan decided to address it. The timing says a lot. He posts, "What an epic night. I'm truly grateful for the Pokemon community, Ken Golden, and my team for making last night a historic moment for the hobby." He then says he wants to address concerns regarding the ownership history of the card. Now for his version of events. He explains that he originally offered up to 51% of the Illustrator on Liquid Marketplace, but only 5.4% actually sold, around $270,000 worth in summer 2022. He says those fractional owners were connected to the platform. Then in May 2024, he claims he bought that 5.4% back for the same price. According to him, this was all done under the platform's terms, and the funds were placed into user accounts for withdrawal. He also says the money sat there for about a year, and many users withdrew during that time. That's his explanation. Clean, direct, confident. But the real question is whether that explanation matches how it felt for the people who bought in. Because perception matters, and the marketing back then told a very different story.
What is up, collector? Rip It is coming soon, and you're gonna want to be first in line. So we're growing our wait list for users to get early access and to give back to the day one collectors who help us grow this thing. Top referrers will climb the leaderboard to get rewarded with things like the holographic pull from this first edition heavy pack, a $30,000 base set unlimited box, and a PSA 9 first edition Lugia valued at roughly $7 grand. Additionally, for every milestone of users that we hit, we'll do giveaways with the entire community with things like this crystallized Daniel Arsham Squirtle figure, multiple sets of base set packs, a first edition heavy pack, other great cards like Arcanine, Snorlax. You get the point. Awesome stuff, guys. My team and I are grinding 24/7 to bring this platform to life. So please tell your friends and get ready to rip.
Then he adds that, for reasons outside my control, the Liquid Marketplace site went offline. He claims that once he learned users couldn't withdraw funds, he personally paid to get the site back up. He says withdrawals are now working and users were notified by email. So he's saying the shutdown wasn't on him and that he stepped in to fix it with his own money. That's the claim. He closes it out sounding emotional, congratulating the buyer, calling it bittersweet, saying he was proud to be a steward of the card for 5 years. It reads like a farewell speech to a legendary artifact, polished, dramatic, respectful, but here's where things get tricky. Logan now says only 5.4% was ever sold, just 5.4%. Yet the marketing from Liquid Marketplace told a much louder story. Their social media celebrated it like the entire card was gone. They posted that the holy grail of Pokémon cards had sold out. They said the community now controlled the future of the card, that they would take part in decisions about vault storage, events, even auctions. That wasn't subtle marketing. That was bold. That was clear. Sold out. Community control, shared decisions. That's what people were told. So which is it? A quiet 5.4% sale? Or a full sellout moment blasted across social media like history was made? Because those are two completely different narratives. If only 5.4% sold for $270,000 in summer 2022, why promote it like the entire card was fully bought up by the community? Why frame it like fans controlled its destiny? That contrast raises serious questions. And then there's the buyback in 2024. He says he bought the 5.4% back for the exact same $270,000. The same price, 2 years later. No increase, no adjustment. That leads to an even bigger question. Did the value of that card really not rise during those 2 years?
What's up, y'all? So you may have seen me introduce myself as a co-founder of Liquid Marketplace, but obviously it's not just me. So I'd love to take this opportunity to introduce you to the other founders and industry experts that are a part of this growing innovative platform. Because after all, I think our team is what solidifies us as one of the most dominant fractionalization co-ownership platforms.
This is one of the most hyped Pokemon collectibles in the world. If the market value climbed, why were those early investors bought out at the original price? Even if everything was technically within the terms, the optics are rough. Fans were told they were part of something historic. They were told they had a stake. Then the card ends up fully in Logan's hands again just in time for a massive auction spotlight. And that's why this whole situation feels off. The messaging, the timing, the promotion versus the numbers. The emotional farewell after cashing in, it doesn't line up clean. This wasn't just about a Pokemon card. It was about trust, about how things were marketed, about what ownership actually meant. And once people started connecting those dots, the celebration started looking a lot different. This is supposed to be one of the most famous Pokemon cards on the planet. A PSA. 10 Illustrator isn't some random collectible sitting in a drawer. So did it really just sit there with zero growth? Did the people who invested see absolutely no return while the headline sale blasted off to $16.5 million? That gap doesn't look small, it looks massive. So they just get their original money back. That's it? They were told they were co-owning an investment, something rare, something with upside. Then the card gets flipped for $16 million and they don't touch a single dollar of that growth. If that's how it played out, it's hard not to question the fairness. They took a risk. They put up $270,000 combined. That wasn't a donation. That was an investment move. And 2 years later, if all they got back was the same $270,000, that means no growth, no upside, no share of the massive appreciation. Meanwhile, Logan walks away with the card fully in hand and cashes out in the spotlight. And what really stands out is how Logan avoids sitting directly in the uncomfortable part. He doesn't fully address whether Liquid Marketplace itself was misrepresented. He pivots. In the Rip It video, the energy shifts to me and my team are going to deliver this platform, like it's a clean slate. But for a lot of people watching, the past is still hanging in the air. Because here's the part that adds serious weight. Liquid Marketplace is currently under investigation for fraud. Yes, that same company Logan Paul is publicly listed with as a co-founder. To be clear, he is not personally named in the filing. That matters. But this is still a platform he helped launch. He stood beside it. He promoted it hard to his audience. According to regulatory filings, a crypto firm co-founded by YouTuber Logan Paul that promoted tokens allegedly backed by rare Pokémon cards and other assets is accused of defrauding investors. The Ontario Securities Commission has filed enforcement proceedings against the Toronto-based Liquid Marketplace and its principals. The allegations claim the company violated securities laws by illegally distributing securities, engaging in unregistered trading, and operating an unregistered exchange. That's not a light accusation. That's serious regulatory heat. Regulators also state the firm raised more than $10 million from investors to fund the company. That number alone changes the tone. When 8 figures are involved and regulators step in, people are going to ask tough questions about how everything was structured and promoted. It doesn't stop there. The filings allege that around $3 million of those raised funds was misappropriated. According to the claims, money was allegedly funneled through shell companies to founders. Loans were reportedly issued and not repaid. Some of that money was allegedly used for personal expenses, including nearly $500,000 on high-end fashion, jewelry, watches, health treatments, and luxury spa services. That's not pocket change. That's serious cash. The regulator further alleges the company sold about $2.7 million worth of tokens that qualified as securities or derivatives without meeting required prospectus and registration rules. On top of that, the firm allegedly traded those tokens without proper registration as an exchange or dealer. If proven true, that's a major compliance issue. And here's where it circles back to the core concern. Regulators claim investors were misled about what those tokens actually represented. According to the allegations, the tokens did not grant legal ownership of the underlying collectibles. The so-called ownership stakes were not recorded on a blockchain. The assets tied to them were allegedly not authenticated, appraised, or insured. If accurate, that creates serious undisclosed risk for buyers. The filings argue these alleged misrepresentations exposed investors to losses while benefiting Liquid Marketplace and its associates. Those are heavy accusations, and they paint a picture that looks very different from the polished, community-driven image originally promoted. The OSC also alleges that founders misled investigators during the probe by hiding the true nature and amount of allegedly misappropriated funds. That is a serious claim. If transparency breaks down during an investigation, public trust drops even faster. Now think about this carefully. The PSA 10 Illustrator was marketed like a historic sellout moment. At one point, the card was valued around $2.5 million before the $16.5 million sale. Meanwhile, Logan recently suggested the platform wasn't as popular as people assume, and demand wasn't that strong. That feels inconsistent. If demand was weak, where did the $2.7 million in token sales come from? That number has to connect to something. If investors weren't heavily buying into the flagship asset, then what exactly were they buying? No one can jump to conclusions without final rulings. Allegations are not convictions. But when public statements and regulatory filings don't line up cleanly, it naturally sparks doubt. That Illustrator card was the crown jewel. Let's be real. Out of everything on the platform, that's what people would gravitate toward. So if only 5.4% was sold, as Logan now claims, then clarity matters. Clean breakdowns matter. Transparency would clear a lot up, because the original messaging was powerful. You're going to own a piece of this card with me. You're part of something exclusive. The community controls the future. That was the vibe pushed hard. But regulators allege those tokens did not represent actual legal ownership. That gap is serious. Now he's rolling out Rip It. The concept? You rip packs tied to real graded cards. You can sell instantly for cash or store them in a vault. That sounds familiar because Liquid Marketplace also talked about vault systems and secure storage. When a new project mirrors the structure of one under investigation, people are going to look twice and ask hard questions. And here's what critics point out loudly. There hasn't been a deep sit-down addressing the investigation in detail. No full breakdown, no extended explanation. That silence feels loud to some observers. First, there was Crypto Zoo, and everyone remembers how that situation spiraled. Then Liquid Marketplace ends up facing regulatory action. Now there's Rip It entering the chat. From the outside, it can look like a pattern of high-energy launches followed by controversy. On social media, the backlash has been intense. A lot of criticism, a lot of tough questions. Some users even claim they've been blocked after raising concerns. One viral post summed up a key issue. It argued that under the platform's terms, if an asset increased in value, it could be bought back at the original price without investor consent. But if it decreased, there was no guaranteed buyback. If that interpretation is accurate, it would mean investors had limited upside and full exposure to downside. The comparison used was blunt. It was described as creating a system where supporters effectively acted as the bank, lending against assets without sharing in the major gains. That framing is harsh, but it explains why emotions are high. By Logan's own numbers, only 5.4% was sold. So even if he had chosen to share the upside from the $16.5 million sale with those holders, estimates suggest it would have required roughly $621,000 to match proportional gains. Out of $16.5 million, that's a relatively small slice. That's why critics keep pushing this point. They argue that even if everything followed the written terms, there was still an opportunity to go beyond the minimum and make a stronger gesture. Especially with Liquid Marketplace under investigation, stepping up voluntarily could have shifted the narrative overnight. Imagine announcing clearly that identifiable holders would be compensated based on the full sale value. That kind of move could have rebuilt serious trust. Instead, the debate keeps growing, and so do the questions about whether technical compliance was prioritized over broader accountability. Some critics argue this pattern feels familiar. Big launch, big hype, big opportunity. With CryptoZoo, the message was that you could earn through gameplay. With Liquid Marketplace, it was co-own rare assets and share the journey. Now with Ripit, it's rip, flip, or vault valuable cards. The energy always starts high, the excitement is real, but the frustration comes from supporters who feel outcomes haven't matched early promises. That gap between launch hype and later reality is why trust has taken a hit. Now Ripit is here, and many are asking the same question out loud. Is this time truly different? That's where the story stands right now. What do you think? Was this just a messy situation that followed the fine print, or does it raise deeper concerns about how everything was structured and promoted? Drop your thoughts down below. If you made it this far, make sure you subscribe, share this video, drop your comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one.